with the recording. So I'm going to go through and do our housekeeping. So first up, I'm going to share this slide with you. Those of you that don't know me, I think that everybody does, but I'm going to say it again. My name's Lisa Johnston. I am a community member here in Australia, and I am part of the Australian Grow Council. I am a big advocate for Grow, and we've really got to support our farmers the best that we can. But before I get into any of that, what I want to do is go through our disclaimers. If this is your first ever call, feel free to take a screenshot. I'm not going to use the time to read through all of these with you this morning. But what I will do is I will go over our disclaimer summary. So this call may contain forward-looking statements. It most definitely will. No earning claims or financial advice will be given or is ever given. Digital rewards are for utility, and DYOR, do your own research. You know, don't take my word for it. Don't take Will's word for it. Do your own research, like really get in, educate yourself in this space and get to really understand what's going on, because it's super exciting and it is important for you to do your own research. The information provided is for educational purposes, and nodes and blockchain are governed by the Distributed Governance Framework, the DGF. So without further ado, I am going to jump in here and just do an introduction of Will. Most of you have probably been on the two previous calls, but hey, third time's a charm, right? And we are back. Persistence is such a core part of what we do here, and we definitely weren't going to let this the few technical hurdles stop us from hearing from Will Taylor. And I am super pumped to introduce Will to you. So for those of you that are meeting Will for the first time, he is the founder of Donabain, and he spent his career deep in health and wellness space, resides in Dorado Beach and Puerto Rico, and is an expert in human optimization. But the reason why he is here with us today is way bigger than that, I believe. And that is because Will is everything. He is one of the co-founders of Grow United and a key leader in the Grow Renaissance movement. You know, if you haven't, you want to check out the Nourish Marketplace. He's good friends with Austin Eldridge, who is the owner of the Royal Family Farming, which is one of our big farms on the Grow blockchain in the US. And that's soil health and sustainable livestock, which is just next level and definitely worth learning all about that. So, Will, the biggest thank you again for your persistence and sticking with us, buddy. We really are grateful, so grateful that you can join us again. And without any further ado, I am going to hand over to you.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, everyone, for being back here. Those of you that have been on the last couple of calls in the last week, and for those of you that are new or watching the recording, welcome. Here's my goal for today. I'm going to do a really quick overview just in case anyone that is watching this doesn't know who I am. So you know my background and a little bit of how I got here. We're going to hit the vision and mission of Grow, what we believe we're doing, why it's important, and what we're building. And then some really cool updates on where we are and where we sit today. And that moves into the action items of us moving forward as a community, as a blockchain, and as we go forward to try and decentralize the global food system and nourish the world. How can we do that? Where are we in it? And what to do? So first of all, I'm very excited to be here. I've had a really cool last month. It's been very busy, but I've been able to go to Europe. My Australia trip is coming. I've never been to Australia in my life, but it will happen very soon, hopefully. And I'm excited to come bring my whole family and spend a month. But I just spent a month in Europe, and that was built on years of hard work, follow through, and getting to the point that we could have some of those meetings. And so something that I think is really important that I want to hit on, particularly in the crypto and the blockchain space, but mostly for anything, right? And sometimes it just takes time. And today I'm going to give an overview of where we are, the steps of how we look at building a decentralized community, building an economy. And what I like to call it is what I really think we're doing is we're building a network state. And what that means to me is when you look at the globe, when you look at the earth, everyone lives everywhere, right? If you go back a few hundred years, we were still going to look at what's happening on this side of the planet because we don't know. Well, now we're in space exploration. I know very little about that space, but we're exceeding what we have in what we're exploring in terms of land. That also has to do with countries and how borders and economies are built. I believe that there will be a new way that the world starts to interact, and the railroad that will be built on is blockchain. Because the fiat world, the cash world, the United States dollars and other fiat currencies have limitations that crypto and blockchain do not. And if we go back to when Bitcoin and blockchain was created in 2007, I would almost guarantee you that any one of you listening to this, if I could tell you with the knowledge that you have today, that you could go back to 2010 and you could either buy Bitcoin or buy Bitcoin miners, that everyone on this call would do that. Now, that is because hindsight is 2020. Now, this is my belief, but I believe that as crypto and the world economies continue to grow and continue to find new ways of doing business and interacting with one another, the blockchain and crypto, especially with the convergence of AI, is going to be able to completely open up that world. And what we are building at Grow is a community that has the railroad to be able to track, trace, and transact inside of a community that supports the actions that community deems as responsible. So buying from farmers that put in the blood, sweat, and tears to grow healthy, good food, not maybe buying it from a lab that has nothing to do with nourishing the earth, the soil, the atmosphere, and growing good food. Okay, so just an example. I don't think it's going to take decades like Bitcoin did from 2007 to 2026. I think those cryptos like Bitcoin, Ethereum, some of the others have led the way to massive adoption. But if you look at crypto adoption and internet adoption, I think we're in what the internet was in like 1995. Okay, that's where the crypto world is. It's probably sub 2% worldwide global adoption. And I think we're about to hit hockey stick curve growth. Just my opinions, but that's where we're at. Okay, so I start with that because I think it's really good to understand of who we are. And I'll show a slide of this in a second, but we are the pioneers. Okay. But we're not the pioneers walking, sailing the ocean blue, going to new land. We're not going across mountains. That's kind of done. Our lifetime is not that. Our lifetime is this digital world, right? How do we transact in the digital world and help it make sense? One other thing that I think is really cool to understand before I open up slides, everything that's difficult, a lot of things that are difficult in the user experience of crypto is going to get exponentially easier with the adoption of AI. So most of the people on this call have a Grow wallet, a Connect wallet, you have your 12-word seed phrase, you've moved crypto around. Again, that's like 2% of the world, okay? So I think about when I was just in Europe, I got a really cool opportunity. So my dad, he's been in the US military for over 30 years. He's a 3-star general, and he's currently the highest ranked military representative for the United States for NATO. And so if you're familiar with what's happening in the world right now, there's a lot going on between the United States and NATO, a lot of interesting things. Okay. Well, I had the opportunity to be there and look at what was happening in the world, look at not just the tensions from a war standpoint, but also from an economic standpoint. What's happening? How are countries going to be able to transact back and forth? How can blockchain be used in that? And what are the biggest things that happen when we start talking about tensions in the world? Water, power, and food. That's what things really are about, okay? Which then move economies. If we have a decentralized system where those then connect to with an economy with a decentralized reward system, really, really cool things can happen. And so I got the opportunity to be in a lot of those meetings at a very high level for Grow, and some very exciting things are happening. So kind of laid the groundwork for that. I'm going to give some updates, but I missed the AI component. When I was with my mom, my mom knows very little about crypto. And when I start talking about 12 words and this wallet with like a bunch of numbers and letters and this wallet and a bunch of numbers and letters, and like, how can she send $25 of Bitcoin to my son for his birthday? And it took us 45 minutes to set up her cold wallet and guy Bitcoin and get it. Super difficult. Okay. All of you have been through that. And if you're trying to explain it to your 58-year-old mother, very hard. AI is going to do all of that. Okay. When we start looking at what can BlockBot do, what are other AI agents going to do you think they're going to have a hard time remembering 27 mnemonics and 12-word passphrases? No. But what's the issue? Is it going to be from a decentralized system or a centralized system, and how does that run? What's the governance framework? So my 2 points in that for you guys to leave this call and have some things to think about is one of the largest hurdles for adoption in scaling, particularly a technology, is how easy is that? It's been very hard for most of you, so I applaud you for being pioneers. It's going to get much easier over the next 12 months, which is going to allow a lot of scale for us. And two, as that scales, the world's going to connect in a really, really fast way. So it's very exciting. Let me share my screen. I'm going to dive into some more stuff here. Just have to remember what screen I'm on. All right. We got my screen here. Lisa, can you give me a yes? Yeah, good.
Sure can, buddy.
All right, thank you. Okay, really quick, I want to remind us, because this is what keeps us heart-centered. This is what keeps us focused on the right thing, because as things get easier and exciting and start to scale and you move out of these first few phases, it can get blurry. What we are doing at Grow is focusing on nourishing the world. And I believe that if we do that and we keep that centered, then we're going to end up in the right place. Who we are, everyone that's listening to this right now, you are an early pioneer in the Grow blockchain. You are early. Back to the Bitcoin example. If you could go back to 2007, 2010, you would be a miner. That's what you would do. And so when you're a farmer, when you're a pioneer and you look at the field and there's no fruit to harvest, what do you have to do first? You have to plant a seed, you have to put it in the ground, you have to nurture that seed, and then the fruit starts to come. Right now, those seeds are our little tokens that are starting to move around the world and starting to build volume. Are they incredibly valued compared to fiat? No, not necessarily. Do we hope they will be? Yes. But those that have the most seeds are the ones that can plant the biggest fields in the future. If we do this call in 5 years, the ones that will have the biggest fields will be the ones that had the most seeds. I hope everyone's following my analogy. And so the thing that we need to continue to do is get as many fields that are ready to be planted with as many Grow tokens in as many hands as possible. That's who we are right now, and that's what we are doing so that we can harvest fields all over the world. To create the vision to decentralize the global ag and farming industry. Because as most of you know, it looks like this. There are massive centralized for-profit corporations that are not really run by people at this point. Okay, what has happened in these for-profit, very, very large centralized companies is they're driven by shareholders, which is driven by the stock price. Regardless of the mission and vision, the system that they used is driven to drive that stock price. This is why I go back to what is the vision of a decentralized community. It has to be driven by nourishing the world and keeping that focused. Now, what is really cool and what is happening today, many of you have heard me talk about the Grow Renaissance. Lisa just mentioned it. If we attack these companies, we will not be able to truly nourish the world. When we came out of the Great Depression, one of the greatest things that happened, and what has really happened over the last 100 years, is distribution channels. We now have the ability to distribute and move things from one side of the world to the other relatively quickly. These large companies have mastered that distribution channel. And as much as I would love for all of us to go back to a 1 to 10 acre homestead and feed our families and everything, that's not going to happen. We live in a society where you have very large cities and everyone needs to be fed. And there's still people in the world that don't have access to good food. So we need to do a couple things. One, we need to reward the producers that are growing good food. And then we need to reward consumers for eating it, and then in turn rewarding those producers. These big companies understand that. Because of the extractive nature of their channels over the last 10 years, their fields are no longer producing the yields that they need to satisfy the demand that currently exists. They know that. I have the opportunity to sit in meetings with some of these companies and have these discussions. And so I want to say, from where I sit, the renaissance is about us bringing the system of the blockchain to these companies so that they can see that there is a different way of doing that. And I'll talk about how we're doing this in a moment. But the main thing to remember is that Web 1 is the information economy, Web 2 is the platform economy, Web 3 is the ownership economy. What we need now is as many people that believe in what we're doing to come in and own it so that we can continue to decentralize as fast as possible, so that we can move through these steps. And so I want to talk through the steps of how we view building this network state, this decentralized community, and the economy that we run on. The first two steps were to build the foundation and move to decentralized. We have already built the foundation. Due to what I would call some miracles, some very giving people, we have been able to put tens of millions and hundreds of millions of dollar value into the core technology that we are leveraging today, including what goes into platforms like Arlink, with no stakeholders and no shareholders and no centralized systems. That is done. That first pillar is completed. We've now moved into the decentralized part. Grow, particularly launched in January of 2024, so it's just over 2 years old. We have just under 26,000 nodes running in over 100 countries. And it is, to my knowledge and the research that I've done, the largest blockchain in the world focused on nourishing the world in the agriculture space by a lot. The second is not even close. And so we've done that by getting nodes set up and launching the distributed governance framework, including the Charter of Grow. Those first two steps are essentially done. Now we get to move into our markets and rewards. So this is where we are right now. Number 3 is accelerate revenue and gain market momentum with our rewards and NFTs, with the goal of getting to $10 million in total liquidity and $1 million of daily volume, which would hopefully drive the token price to around 5 cents, which would put the nodes at about 6 months of ROI. This would also put us in the top 100 of crypto. Now, these are forward-looking statements, and we have no guarantee that this will happen because we don't control the market or what it does. But what we can control is moving into number 4, which is transition to only accepting brand rewards for products and services. And so what many of you have seen, and for those of you that got a Blockbot or a node in the last week, those were actually purchased with Grow rewards that were mined by someone that was running a node, myself. And so because of that, we've been able to grow, have a completely new way of doing business, and now we have to accelerate the market so that we can move into stage 5, which is where things get really exciting. You bolster our brand as Grow, we pioneer leadership teams and scale globally and become industry related, okay? We can start doing community acquisitions, bringing massive growth into the platform. That's when things, in my opinion, and kind of using the example earlier, it's going to be really easy in a world where I could go to, let's say, my mom or someone else and say, hey, listen, all you have to do is run this AI agent. You control everything. Everything is done on smart contracts behind your private keys. It's going to remember everything. We have a list of the best farmers in your area. You can see everything that happens on the food. And all you have to do is tell your AI agent, this is what you want your fridge to be stocked with. Go tell it your fridge is empty. It will go buy it, have it shipped, use your Grow, pay for it. It'll be done. And oh, by the way, Grow has gone up 300% in the last 3 months. That's going to be really fun and really easy. We just have to get there. And the way we get there is continuing to grow by adding people to the network so that we can go and scale that. The other thing that we can do, and this is talking to this group, and my goal personally for what we're doing at Grow United, is to build a model so that others can have a pathway to follow on how we can move through these steps. As we build that model, it will become easier and easier and easier to scale. You guys hear me talk a lot about Austin and what we're doing in Royal Family Farming in Washington State here in the United States. The reason that we do that is one, we've been doing this for 12 and a half years. So I know we launched the blockchain 2 years ago, but the updates that I'm giving you have been happening for over a decade. The conversations we've been having, the things that people said were impossible 10 years ago are now being possible. And it's not just a 2-year battle. So I think that's also really interesting to know. And what's really cool is as we talk to more and more partners coming in to grow, they've been doing it for 20 years, for 30 years. We are going to bring everyone in that have spent their entire lifetime looking for the right place to bring everything in. That's what grow is everything can come together and do it. So I want to give you some updates. I'm going to play this video for those of you that haven't seen it, because as I give these updates, I'm going to talk about some of the things that have happened and what they're leading to now.
We haven't got sound, Will, just in case there's sound with it, buddy.
Okay, I don't know how to get sound, so we're going to send this out in the link to the recording with everything because the sound was playing and technical.
Can you click up the top there where the speaker is, or is that not clickable? Top of the video where it's got an X?
Maybe. I don't think so. That's all right.
Okay.
It's only 2 minutes. We'll send it out. Here's what it talks about. That it's the largest worm farm in the world and that really cool things have been happening there. Here's the part I want to put in. I'm going to give some entrepreneurship thoughts for everyone. When I graduated school, I did a corporate job for like 9 months and then quit.
Will,
yeah.
Sorry, buddy. Just you've got the double up screen of everything. So there you go. Cool.
Thanks. Okay, back to my entrepreneurship thoughts. So I would say I've been an entrepreneur for a long time, failed a lot of times, but every time I have won, it has been because there was risk involved. Every time that something was a sure bet or it was laid out really simply in front of me, the payout was never as good. And so the risk is always in not knowing what's going to happen and having some amount of unknown. The higher the risk, the higher the reward. Now, you don't take uncertain risk and do stupid things, but when we look at what we've done personally on the farm and at Royal Family Farming over the last 10 years, almost everything has been misunderstood for years before it was understood. And so I want to go into some of these grow updates for you, and I am going to start with this one. So one of the reasons that I was in Europe was a Nestle collaboration. And so about 12 years ago, Austin and his family decided to invest a couple $1 million and build the largest worm farm in the world. The reason behind that was the farm and the cows produce a lot of poop and a lot of pee, and they were having it go and sit in a lagoon. And they knew that if they could take that waste, give it to the worms could eat it, turn it into worm castings. And then in that process, there would be methane sequestration. And at that time, things like carbon credits and tax credits were really misunderstood and there was not a lot of money in them. So when they invested that money, most people told them they were crazy. Well, now, some of you have heard this, but in February of this year, they got a $27 million check from Nestle for the methane sequestration carbon credits that came out of that farm and a lot of that milk going into the Carnation brand of Nestle. Well, part of my meetings that were in Europe were looking at how is all of that tracked? Where are the carbon credits being put? Where's the data being tracked? How is that working? And right now, the way that works is it goes to Vera, which is a technical nonprofit corporation, and it's kind of been the gold standard in the space for a long time. But in my opinion, they double dip in certain areas and take a long time. So sometimes 12 to 24 months to even get a project in their queue. Well, 3 years ago, and even up to 2 years ago, everyone told us that it was impossible that one of these larger companies would look at a blockchain to tokenize the asset of these credits. Well, in the meetings that we were having, everything started to open up. And not only were they willing, but they were excited to collaborate with us to grow, because they could see that as the world moves closer to wanting trust, then they need trustless systems, meaning that they don't actually have to have trust with a corporation. It's just real and happened and verified by the people, which is what a decentralized blockchain is, that they were willing to collaborate with us. And so there's really two things that really stick out for me in that. One, back to the risk and reward. 10 years ago, there was a really big risk that is now paying off massively. I believe personally that that is the blockchain. I would imagine that many of you have talked to farmers or ranchers, or you are one yourself. And this whole blockchain thing sounds good, but how does it really work and how does it get there? It's going to go. I believe that as this community grows and we do what we're talking about, it's working. It's already starting to grow. And this renaissance idea of these companies coming in is a really big part of that collaboration, which we're really excited about. So there's much more to come. One of the downsides of these corporations, they move really slowly, but massive news. And literally a year and a half ago, I had meetings in Europe the last time I was there. And a lot of people said that what we're doing right now is impossible. And now we're doing almost everything they said we couldn't do, which is really awesome. The other update is we have been able to put a contract together for 40,000 acres right next to Royal City and Royal Family Farming. The reason that this is cool is, one, it's a lot of land. So it's the size of Manhattan for any of you that know New York. Right now, there's getting water to it. It's fairly barren, some irrigated land, but we're going to be able over the next 2 decades to be able to completely revolutionize this land, regenerate this land. Will be one of the largest reforestation projects in the United States, and it will all be done on Grow. It will all be done with the Grow community, and it will become the model from zero all the way to the end of how to do it on the blockchain in a decentralized fashion. So it will give us from A to Z how we can do this from a big farm all the way down to the smallest acreage farms, which is really, really exciting. So that deal has been signed, in the works, and really cool for me. I've said this on another couple other calls, but one of the most exciting things for me in my entrepreneurial journey is most things felt like I was just trying to get to the next thing. This is the first thing I've ever done that I feel like I'll, one, be involved with till the day I die, and two, something that actually generates really good things for the world that can do generations, for where people forget my name, remember that I even lived, and things that we can do. Another update that I want to give is, this goes back to the seeds that I was talking about earlier. Okay. So Royal and the Nourish Mart that Lisa mentioned. So Royal Family Farming was an early partner, and they were willing to launch on the Nourish Mart and sell their food for Grow tokens. Okay. So over the last year and a half, they have accepted 58,285,768 Grow tokens. Okay. The cost of food that this was able to sell at was about $80,000, okay, give or take. The value of that Grow at a 2 cents. So right now we have some pools in Grow showing just over 2 cents, some in the DeFi markets under a quarter of a penny. Markets all over the place with very little liquidity right now. So this is also a forward-looking statement. But on average, if we look at that, Austin is sitting on the potential of $1.1 million off of about $80,000 of inputs of cost of goods sold. Why is that the case? Because he believed in the possibility that the seeds of these Grow rewards could have value in the future and be able to create a harvest for himself, which they're now doing. Still potential, but very, very cool. So as we look into the community, as we put that Bitcoin hat back on and say, okay, if I had some foresight and I believe in what we're doing, then how many people would I get in today? How many people would I say, go buy $10 of Grow, go run a Grow node, go buy $50 of Grow, go be willing to sell just a little bit of meat or a little bit of chicken on the Nourish Mart? Then that's what we could do and do it. I gave this talk today, so many of you know Neil does an amazing job working with our Australian community. And then Austin, I was speaking with both of them on our belief and where we're at personally with Grow, with the Grow that we hold, and what do we do as we know the roadmap. And the truth is, we have been able to mine and distribute quite a bit of those grow seeds. And if I could go forward 5 years and I believed that we were going to do what we're talking about, and I believed that there would be value there, how many more people would I give grow to every day? How many more people would I get in? And that's the space that I'm going to live on from here on out. Because if I really believe in the mission and I get on all these calls and I talk about it, how many people am I sharing with it every day? So that's my personal goal. Here's the roadmap. So we have just launched the ecosystem BlockBot launch. That is going. Our BlockBots are running. Several of you have them. We don't have dates for this, but it will be very close to an event that we're throwing in 30 days at Royal, where we will launch the Nourish NFT and the Harvest NFT. What this will be is it will be the ability to be rewarded in Grow for buying food. So as you feed your family, you will receive rebates and more rewards in Grow, which is really cool. One of the really cool things with Nestle and these other partners that we're talking to, everything in the current system is extracted. So we have these amazing meetings, we meet for days and hours, and they say, okay, what's the bottom line? How much is this going to cost? And we go to them and say, well, there's one cost, and that is you need to be an owner with us. We need to know you believe in this, which means running a node. And then after that, we actually want to reward you for doing it. We don't need to extract anything else from you as the producer or the person that's coming to put data on chain. We actually want to reward you for doing that. When the Nourish and Harvest NFT launch, that's what we'll be able to do to the day-to-day person. So when we ask them, do you eat? Yes. Do you want to eat good food? Yes. Would you like to be rewarded for eating that food? Yeah. Perfect. That's what we're going to do. So that will launch in June, and then we'll build a larger roadmap that will update everyone in on how we scale that globally. And then we are going to start doing Grow Farm events. So part of our roadmap is as we are growing and we're moving into that market phase, we need to have events all over the world where we can share what we're doing and give Grow to people for doing those events. So we'll build that roadmap. And then lastly, we will launch the livestock platform, which we showed some of you, but this is how we are going to allow farmers and producers to get out of the centralized banking system so that we as a community can actually own cows. I would guess just by averages that many people on this call are not actually owning and raising cattle. The reason for that is we don't have the land or the know-how, and connecting with a farmer and a co-op can be rather difficult. Well, we now have a system where you can use Grow and have smart contracts connected into that cattle so you can see what's happening live on the farm. You can help feed the cattle and you can be rewarded for doing so, as well as participate in the profit sharing of the cattle or the whatever grain is growing. So that's a short roadmap for where we're at. We have a very large Grow event that we will record a ton of content for that's happening on June 4th and 5th in Royal City, Washington, which will actually be the beginning of the Nourish and putting all of the cattle and land on chain. So I want to kind of close out. I know I've talked a lot. Here was farming yesterday. We've been farming forever. We've had cows, ruminants walking the earth for a very, very long time. All we want to do is bring in some very new technology and new systems, which we believe I believe AI is a really big part of it. I believe that blockchain and crypto is a really big part of it. And I believe that the philosophy of decentralization is the key to having sovereignty and freedom in the future so that we can bridge tradition with technology. That's how we're going to nourish the world. That's how we're going to accomplish the vision to decentralize everything, is we're going to take the best tradition of the past, of all of the history that we've had growing into sustaining the earth and nourishing it. We're going to match it with the best technology of today, and we're going to build an economy and a community around it. So those are our updates of everything that we have going on with Grow and where we're at. And I am going to stop sharing before, there we go. I hit the wrong button last time and I ended the call, so I had to make sure I didn't. Here's my ending piece. And then I'll be quiet and we'll open it up for questions and anything we have. What can we do? What can we do to grow it? Our strength and the bat that I get to carry, okay? Walk with the big stick, try not to ever use it, but when you need it, I need a big stick, okay? My goal is to help grow. That's what I want to do. When I go into these meetings and when the Grow Council, who's currently representing our community, goes into meetings, Our biggest bet, the big stick, is our technology, but it is our community. That's it. Nobody else has that. Okay. Everyone, a lot of people are trying to accomplish the visions that we're talking about because it's a really, really big problem. Okay. It's a huge problem, which is why we're turning a really big ship. But the thing that we have is this call, the calls that we have with hundreds of people on them, talking about owning the platform and moving it, and that are building models that can be copied. All we have to do is grow that. And that could look as simple as a wallet and sending to grow to somebody. That's it. Because when we walk into the meetings with Nestle and we can say, I have 26,000 nodes running in over 100 countries and tens of thousands of people that move this around. What? Really? You guys don't have that. No, I'm serious. I'll show you. That opens up everything. So that's what we continue to ask, and we'll do it. And then I would live, what's the state that we live from? I just want to share again the state that I'm living from. If I believe in what we're doing and I'm committed to sticking to it until it is successful enough that it's proven and undeniable, then why would I not share it with 10 people today? That's it. And so if I do that every day, then I think we'll do it, because I've been able to watch, many of you know Wright, who did this dance with Bitcoin, was mining Bitcoin when nobody knew anything about it. Okay. And for those of you that have been to his houses or seen his houses that were paid with rewards from our software, now it makes sense. And so the coolest part of that is build your own story for that. Because when I watch Wright tell his story about being in early, that's when it's cool, right? It's not as cool when you're getting in at the end, when it's like, oh man, I wish I would have got in. So I just want to remind us all of that, because I have to remind myself too. My wife has to remind me too when I start throwing things off the roof some days. We're in it early. We're moving. Things are going in a very positive direction. And thank you all for being here. We're going to do really cool things. That's what I got today.
Will, thank you very much. That was brilliant. There was so much in that. I'm glad that we've got the recording for that. If you've got a question for Will, please pop it in the comments. I will have a look at that. And I am going to ask the questions that I asked before, Will, so you've got a bit more prep for it this time. So the why behind Grow, what's the specific moment that you realised the current food system was broken beyond the quick fix and needed an entirely new infrastructure?
Cool. So I think two sides. One, I used to run gyms, and when I realized you couldn't make a lot of money in gyms, I started coaching people online. And I did it with my wife. We started coaching people all over the world. And I realized that if we had them eat good food, that was the number one lever they could pull. So that's when I really got committed to food and the quality of food, the nutrient density of food, where it came from. And then I was connected with Austin. So Austin called me 10-ish years ago and said, hey, I'm doing all these really cool sustainable regenerative practices and nobody cares. Can you help me prove it? And so that's when we started. We started building Farm Tracer. We started proving the data. And when we did a deal with Amazon in 2018-ish, that's when I opened my eyes that the world was shifting, that consumers really wanted to understand where their food was coming from. And so I started raising money. Some of you don't know this story, but I started raising money. I had just sold a company and wanted something to do. And so I started raising VC capital for Farm Tracer. And when I went to that world, the centralized banking shareholder world, and said, this is what we want to do. And it was very similar to the mission that Grow has today. And I hated it. I just hated it. And I can sell pretty good. I can talk pretty good. And when I get going, I can go. And I was raising money and I was getting people excited and to move, and I hated it. I just felt gross and I didn't want to do it. And so I stopped and I was like, I don't want to do this. And then I met Wright and I started to understand the blockchain. And that's when I knew. When I saw the convergence of those three things, it aligned for me that I believe that it's a human right with the technology and the way we are right now in humanity that everyone should have access to good food. We have the ability to do it. We should do that because I feel better and my life is better when I do it. I want to get that to as many people as possible. But then the business systems were broken. And so when I was able to align like the good mission of that for humanity with the system of blockchain, that's when it made sense and I never looked back. I literally never stopped.
Fabulous. Okay, so one other question that I have, and then I'm going to move to the comments because there are a couple of things in there. So infrastructure versus hype, for the leaders on this call who are used to, who may or have been part of or have heard in the part the crypto hype, how does the Grow node actually function as a productive digital asset for a family?
Perfect. So one, let's just talk about the function of a node. At a high level, does two things. One, it confirms transactions of things that are happening on the chain. Without the node, the blockchain doesn't exist. Like you can't have it. So you have to have the node for the blockchain to exist. And then as a reward for doing that, you get distributed tokens and eventually this year you'll get NFTs. So that is the reward for using your computer power, your storage power to confirm those transactions and create the network. I heard a really cool example the other day that I want to share. So early on, I didn't know this, but someone had gotten someone excited about Grow. He's a younger kid, 25, 26, just got married, didn't have a lot of money. So he bought a node. At that time, I think it was about $5,000. Most of the money that he had. He's been running it for a while. He's collected Grow rewards. I just heard the other day that, I guess it's been a couple months, but Sunday dinners with the family are fed by those Grow tokens going to the Nourish Mart to buy food for that family. So the 26-year-old is now providing the steaks for the family dinner of everyone that's older than him with the node that he's running. So that's just one side that I thought was really cool of we can feed our families. And that's truly the end goal, I think, of node ownership is what if you could get rid of your food bill and the Grow rewards were paying your food? If that was the only thing it did, I think that's a massive benefit. Food is one of our highest expenses. And so that's the goal. How do we feed the world and how do we start with node owners and move that through?
That's so cool. I have a lady who bought a node as well. She's an entrepreneur here in Australia. She bought a Grow node early on last year as well, Will, and she's got grown boys. Well, she's got teenage boys, and she said, my grocery bill's huge. And I see it as an asset because like by actually buying the node, I'm now reducing my grocery bill to next to nothing because my boys eat a lot and they like meat. And if I'm buying the produce through the Nourish Mart, then I know they're going to eat forever and they're going to eat good quality. So yeah, that was very cool. She was actually one of the people who really kind of had my mind shift to see the possibility of Grow and what it can do. So we've got a couple of farmers on as well, Will, and Annie's a farmer. She actually has asked a question. What's your thoughts on Halter? So many farmers are being lured into using it now, not understanding how centralized it is. Can Grow counter that?
Great question. Can it counter it? Absolutely. And this is where we have to be careful not to get the cart before the horse and the timing. We're building an entirely new railroad for things to run on, and very few people understand it. So what we have to do is make that railroad really attractive. The railroad is built, so those first two steps, launch the tech and decentralize, in my opinion, that built the railroad for people to come and run it. And so the railroad is the blockchain. What we have to do now is allow cars and trains to come use the railroad. That's where we're at the beginning of. And so what I believe will happen is something like a halter, there will become a blockchain version of that will then end up running on the Grow Railroad, and then everything will move to that. We are at the very, very beginning stages of that. And so if you had urgency, this goes back to that stick of the larger our community is and the more momentum that we have, the faster we get to bring on trains to run on the railroad. That's our job. That's the pioneer job, is to go plant as many seeds as possible. Because as we go to like a halter or even other farmers and producers, they want to see that there's fruit in the field. That's what we got to build. And we're just at the beginning stages of that. And so like this Nestle collaboration is a really good example. Like I've been cussed out and kicked out of more farmers' offices than you guys have talked to farmers. I'll bet on it. And I've been laughed out of a lot of meetings with some of these bigger companies because they don't understand it. And Nestle was one of them. Like I got told in a very non-polite way to never come back 2 years ago. We went back and things are shifting. But they shifted because we never gave up and the growth continued. So that's a little bit of a long-winded answer, but that's truly how we get there. Neil particularly does a really good job at this of like working on bringing on partnerships and building that model. We just have to make it easier. It's kind of like using the computer back in the early 90s. Like nobody could figure it out. And now look, like my 9-year-old, we just got a Tesla recently and my 9-year-old runs it better than my wife. Truly, like tells her where all the things are and all the tech is. And that's how blockchain will be in the future.
I agree, totally. So with what Will just shared, I just want to speak a little bit into that as well, guys. So each Wednesday evening, we'll be starting up again in a couple of weeks. We'll keep you posted. Neil, who Will has referred to as amazing community member and partner with Grow as well, and a wealth of knowledge. We do a call for farmers and eaters, everybody, basically on a Wednesday evening. So they would definitely be great calls to start bringing people into the conversation, like Will shared, because it's connecting the dots for people that maybe you don't have the answers for. It's literally just having you get into a conversation with somebody who'll be able to make that clearer of how Grow works. So there's been a couple of questions on the recording and slide deck. You can share this recording, which has the slide deck in it. Absolutely, we'll get that recording out to you shortly. I can't see any other questions, Will. So is there anything that you would like to wrap up with, buddy? Third time's a charm. It has been a charm. It's been an absolute pleasure. In fact, I'm actually kind of secretly grateful because every single time this call's got more and more powerful and you've given us more and more juice. We actually got to see the end, got to hear the end result of after the meetings and stuff as well. So I'm super grateful and excited that you got to come and spend time with us 3 times. And so, yeah, anything you'd like to wrap up with or leave this community with?
Yeah, one, thank you all. It's really inspiring for me to get up and keep doing this. I love it. I love Grow, but I do it because there's really cool people behind it. And every time I get in these calls and see new faces, it's exciting. So thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for continuing to show up. And I would just end with, we're building something new. It's brand new. There's a lot of people that believe in what we're doing in terms of the mission and the vision. I think it connects with the human heart in a really big way. But the key is to build a new system. And that is what I have seen. And the decade that I've been in this space, you can't just start a new company. You can't just go create a new CRM or some new tech, find a new way to be a consultant. There truly has to be a new system that people can plug into. And that is what we are building. And that's the pain. Like there's pain in new things and there's growth and things don't work and it's not easy. And all of you are a part of that piece of it. And that's where the risk lies. I think that's where the reward lies. But I would just remind yourself of that. Check back in with why you're here. Truly, that'll keep you going. And then just remember where we're at, because I believe you'll be rewarded for it if we keep going and as we keep going. And that's the answer. The world wants us to be at, when we're replacing halter and doing those things, we'll get there. But the reward comes by doing what we're doing now. So thank you all.
Thank you, Will. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Enjoy the sunshine, Will, and everybody go out and let's share all things grow. Have a magic day. Take care.